What's going on, everyone? I'm Jaren, and today we are talking about Fast X, aka Fast 10, aka Fast 10, your seatbelts. Huh? Huh? Now, this 10th installment is directed by Louis Leterrier as we follow the story of Dom Toretto and his family, targeted by the vengeful son of drug kingpin Hernan Reyes. The end of the road begins. This installment marks the first chapter in what was supposed to be a two-part finale like Avengers Infinity War and Endgame. Up until last week, Vin Diesel has announced on the red carpet that Universal's proposed to stretch this finale out for a trilogy, which means we're getting Fast and Furious 11 and 12, y'all. And if that wasn't crazy enough, Dwayne Johnson has come out and is willing to squash old beef and is willing to jump back into the franchise if Vin Diesel and the family will have him back again, of course. Kicking off some drama that happened at the beginning of production, Justin Lin, longtime producer and director of the Fast and Furious franchise, quit 3 weeks into shooting. Him and leading man Vin Diesel did not see eye to eye amongst various things, which left the project without a director for weeks. Enter in Louis Leterrier, who has done movies like Transporter 1 and 2, you got Now You See Me, Unleashed, and The Incredible Hulk 2008. The credibility and action talent of this genre has definitely been saved by Mr. Leterrier. After Paul Walker's emotional and tragic exit to the franchise, I have not been a fan of the direction that they decided to take this road on, especially F9. I mean, it was always implicated that they would always defy the rules of gravity or break the rules of reality in some way and just be fun cinema. But they went way too far with the last one. I mean, it went wacky Looney Tune that it lost me. Although this franchise has dipped in quality over the last several years, I just know that this was something that I grew up with, if not just horror movies. This is something that I bonded with my own family with. So, I'm going to buy a ticket and show up on day one for it. And even the trailers got me rolling my eyes more than actually being excited for it. Finally getting around to seeing Fast X, I went in with middle to low expectations, and I'm happy to report that it is an improvement from the last two entries. It has that middle bite balance that I've been missing, and that is where this movie realizes the emotional and tense stakes. It wobbles that thin line between semi-grounded and absurd action, and it doesn't forget to be fun through and through. Thank God. Nobody went to outer space, nobody messed with no big ass magnets or caught a car with their bare hands. This time around, I really enjoyed the action and suspense for this film, especially the sequence with the rolling bomb that goes through Rome. That was pretty intense. And it's not like that they didn't still have some ridiculous and laughable stunts happen in this movie, especially towards the third act, which involves a car and two helicopters, and the helicopters decide to anchor the car, and then the car decides to use its own weight and nos and fling the one helicopter to the other helicopter, and that was just, oh, that was a good time. That was a blast. The script at hand plays out like Avengers Infinity War or the Lord of the Rings trilogy, where our heroes are separated by endless threats and forces, where they're going off into their own groups, on their own missions, and they're all over the globe, and they don't let you forget that. A lot of people are saying that it's overbloated, it's overstuffed, there's just too many things happening all at once, but personally, I think that it gave a lot of our cast ensemble, including our new additions, so much more to work with, and at the same time, I felt like a few others were underutilized. And with that being said, I do feel, and you will start to feel, that this Fast family is getting way too big. I mean, I swear to God, if a whole group of them just don't start dying off in the next couple movies, I'm going to lose it. And especially with the additions of Brie Larson, Alan Ritchson, and Daniela Melchior in the mix, I feel like they didn't have enough screen time to fully realize their roles. I mean, you got Michelle Rodriguez and Jordana Brewster always showing up to kick some ass, but I felt like in this story and with what they had to work with, they really got benched. I just find it funny that with the writers, they somehow managed to remind us that the villains from the previous franchise were horrible people and have committed some atrocious things, especially towards our main characters, and at the same time attempt to scrape at the bottom of the barrel to find some sort of redeemable quality or some redeemable trait of these characters, especially of Charlize Theron or Jason Statham and even John Cena. And I know John Cena is supposed to be the uncle, and he's pretty funny. He gets a lot to do here, and I feel like his whole demeanor of Jacob from before is just completely gone and was never ever just. I don't know, the whole thing was retcon. And I feel like he picked up his whole persona from DC's Peacemaker and just decided to roll with that. Speaking of villains, Jason Momoa as Dante Reyes is the price of admission alone. My buddy slash fellow critic Aaron Medeiros, we laughed our asses off every single time he came on screen. I mean, early reviews have hailed him as the Joker of this franchise, and I strongly agree. I mean, Jason Momoa is painting toenails and scotch taping the faces of dead bodies while having a full conversation with them, for crying out loud. I mean, he understood the assignment. Momoa's performance is through the stratosphere with how over-eccentric, flamboyant, and sadistic he could be, from his flashy wardrobe, to his purple car, to his wackadoo mannerisms, to his connections to the events of Fast Five. This man somehow manages to be likable, yet cunning, all at the same time. I mean, the man is 20 steps ahead of everyone. There are 3 surprising cameos that show up in this movie, and without spoiling it, I still wanted to share my thoughts on it. And with the first cameo, was very unnecessary. It was actually the lowest point of the movie. Honestly, they could have cut out that entire scene and it wouldn't have affected the story in any way, shape, or form. The second cameo, I was like, what the fuck? I mean, it's not like I was disappointed to see this particular celebrity, but the writers have some work to do. The last one, which was a mid-credit treat, I honestly thought that it wasn't going to be possible until, like, the next movie or even the last. But I'm glad we got it. Somewhere in the cutting room, I can only imagine that there is a version of the movie where the editing choices could have been a little bit more improved, mainly with the way that they intersplice between our characters' whereabouts and their arcs, and the way that the ending might have played out. Like all Part 1 entries to a finale, this film does come to an abrupt halt, which surprisingly left me wanting more. But I do have to say that even that 007-like end credit sequence was a complimentary way to walk out of the auditorium. Overall, although the Fast and Furious franchise is one that gets made fun of the most, it caters to the fans that have stuck around for the ride since the beginning. It's a soap opera with cars. I mean, characters are endlessly getting resurrected, or are related, or constantly getting into conflict with one another. The arguments could easily be mistaken for sexual innuendos. It's not the best sequel, but I enjoyed the hell out of it. And I can't wait to see what they do next. Alright guys, that's all I got to share about that movie. Go ahead and check it out on the big screen if you want to. Otherwise, summer blockbusters are back in session, baby. Thank you guys again so much for watching. I'm Jaren Banawag. Look forward to more reviews, and I'll see you guys at the movies. Take care.
Let's ride. Armed and dangerous. Ain't too many can bang with us. Label us, no fraud us.